How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm finally getting started on a project which I have been putting aside for probably over a year now, and that, as you guys saw in the title, is replacing the exhaust manifold on my first gen Sequoia. So as some of you guys probably know, with the first gen Sequoias there are a couple major problems, and they're not even that big, but there are just a couple common problems, I guess, with these Sequoias with the 2UZ engines, and one of them is the exhaust manifold leaking. You get an exhaust smell in the cabin when you kind of accelerate. You also get kind of a ticking sound on acceleration and while the car is warming up. And it's something I've had with my Sequoia for about a year now. It hasn't been horrible, but definitely when I have been accelerating, there has been a lot of exhaust smell, and I'm really ready to move on from that. So today I'm going to be attempting to start working on my exhaust manifold. I have a couple days off from work. Now, I know with doing the exhaust manifold, it can be really difficult. I've seen videos, I've seen photos. It's super tight in here. All of the bolts are really rusty. Sometimes the bolts and studs can snap, and then you have to deal with trying to extract them. It can go really bad really quickly, so we'll see. Yeah, that's kind of the plan. Pretty much planning to lift the car up, take the wheels off, and kind of just start looking at it. I'm trying to get the heat shield off, trying to get some of the hopefully easier parts removed. So we'll go ahead and get started on that today, starting with lifting the Sequoia up and getting on jack stands. Alright, so I started this last night, but just gonna do another coat here, soaking all of these nuts with PB Blaster. Alright, well there's a third one. It's the one again on the front side, this time on the bottom side of the exhaust manifold. For some reason the bolts on the front and rear side of the exhaust manifold have been easier than the middle two so far, so just working on those right now. Number 4. Because every time it's gone like, I've been pushing, and it goes like snap, and I'm like, did I break it?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I hate that feeling.
Alright guys, so just an update. I've gotten 6 of the nuts off so far. I guess I should say 5 nuts, and then with one of them the whole stud came out as well. It was super tight, but making some good progress. It's been about an hour and a half so far. Just been using lots of PV blaster, and then I've also been using a torch to heat up the bolts as well, try and break up some of that rust. That's been working well so far. Got 2 more left. Unfortunately, they're the 2 difficult ones, kind of on the complete backside and bottom of the frame. So we'll try and find a good angle to get to those. But yeah, so far making some good progress. Alright guys, got another one off. I think we only have 1 more left. So I have 1 bolt left. It's the one that's directly behind the motor mount, which is definitely the most difficult to get to. I've kind of created this contraption here of extensions and a couple swivels, but debating whether or not I want to push on it. It seems a little sketchy.
Is it sketchy?
Yes. But I feel like it's on there.
I mean, worst case, you just shatter a swivel.
Yeah, or snap a stud. That felt good, guys. Let's see if we can loosen it now. Let's go. Guys, this is the last one. I'll show you guys my contraption that I made to get this one in just a second. You guys have no idea how stoked I am right now. I know there's still a lot of work left, but to get all 8 of these bolts off in about 2 hours, I cannot be happier. There it is, the 8th one. Okay, so quickly I want to show you guys how I got to that one. I did not disconnect the motor mount at all on this side, hoping I don't have to do that on the other side, the driver's side. I'm working on the passenger side right now. Basically, I have 2 swivels, and they're kind of bent like this, that goes to a long, I think it's like 18-inch extension. And then I have my ratchet on there now, but I had my breaker bar. As you guys saw, this is like a 2-foot breaker bar. I've been using the end of a jack kind of as a extension to give even more torque. That goes on the end of the breaker bar, but this is obviously a very funny looking tool, but it works to get that bolt out. It's in a super awkward position and you just don't have a ton of space. But yeah, that was able to get it out. Now I just have to disconnect the 3 nuts that are holding the exhaust manifold to the downpipe. Once I get those out, should be able to disconnect the O2 sensor and pull the whole exhaust manifold out. Don't forget to disconnect the O2 sensor. I just used a flathead to push down on the clip up here, and then with my other hand pulled on the wire, that was able to remove it. Now let's see if we can get the exhaust out. Alright, so now using a 22 millimeter, you can go ahead and break free this O2 sensor. Thankfully mine was not that tight. Sometimes these get seized on there and you may have to buy all new sensors, but this one was not too bad. There it is. Just gotta remove the old gasket and then we can get started installing the new JBA headers. Alright, so here's a look what it looks like. Here's the old gasket. Let's take this off. This thing is destroyed. I'll show you guys in a second. Alright. Here's the old gasket. It's like split too. You guys see that? Like split in 2 parts. And here is a look at the engine block with no exhaust manifold. So with the new JBA headers that I'm going to be installing, instead of using studs, they just come with replacement bolts that you use that go straight into the block, so you don't actually use a stud and nut combination. Only one of the studs actually came out. For the other 7, it was just the nut that came off. So right now what I'm going to try and do is try and remove these studs. There's a little star pattern on the back. I believe it is a E10. It's kind of the opposite of a Torx bit. But I'm going to try and remove the studs using that little star bolt. If they're not wanting to budge, I'm just going to leave them. But I figured I might as well give it a shot here while I have the space and while I have the exhaust manifold off. So we're going to try and do that now, see if we can remove the studs. Alright guys, so still trying to remove these studs. This one especially is such an awkward position. Alright, so I just finished getting all of the studs removed. Again, I'm taking all of them out. because I'm going to be replacing them just with bolts. We're not going to be using studs with the new headers. Alright, so here's a look at the old exhaust manifold. This is what I just removed. And then right here are the new JBA headers that we're going to be putting on now. I'm super excited about this. We're going to go ahead and throw it on now. Try and get it all reattached, and then hopefully jump over and try to get the other side done. We're also going to reinstall the O2 sensor back into the new headers. I'm just going to use a little bit of anti-seize on my threads. This is a 22 millimeter. I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but I'm just going to get it tight. That's all tightened down, super easy. Gonna try and get this header installed now. Guys, trying to get these bolts started is so difficult. Should have left at least a couple studs. It would have made my life a lot easier. I haven't even got one in yet. Guys, this might be one of the hardest parts yet, trying to bolt it back up. Alright guys, so I'm just working on tightening the bolts down now. 17 millimeter ratcheting wrench is going to be your best friend working on these JBA headers. All of those bottom 4 bolts are extremely hard to get to, and with the headers there's even less space to get to those bolts than there were with the stock manifold, just because they are a little bit bigger. But with a 17 millimeter box wrench, you should be able to get in there and get some turns. It's really tight, you can only go back and forth just a little bit, so it takes a while. But this should help you guys a lot. 17 millimeter ratcheting wrench. So update for you guys, all of the bolts are tightened a little bit. Now we're going to go through and tighten them all down. It's going to be really hard to fit a torque wrench in any of these. I think the torque spec is around 30 foot-pounds, so we're just going to do our best to get them snug. That's really all we can do. It's way too tight to fit a torque wrench in there, so just get them snug, get them tight, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alright guys, so an update. One side, the passenger side, which I think is going to be the easy side, unfortunately, is completely done. The headers are fully installed, they're bolted up, everything went back on. It was a little bit difficult to get those bolts threaded. I had to have Dylan help me. I think I'm just getting tired and I could not get any of them started. So got everything bolted back up now. Gonna jump over. I think I'm gonna move over to the driver's side. It's about 5:30 right now, and I'm in it. I'm filthy already, so I kind of just want to try and bang it out. It's pretty much gonna be the exact same thing, so I'm not gonna really film as much, but it's just gonna be a lot of PB blaster, warming up the bolts with a torch if they're super rusty, and just trying to get them off, hopefully without snapping them. So I'll give you guys an update as I work through it. But that's pretty much the plan for now. Just gonna continue working. I really want to get this thing banged out. This has been something I've been trying to do for a while, and it'll feel so good when it's all done. So fingers crossed I don't snap any bolts or don't run into any more issues. I'm gonna go get started on the driver's side now. All right, just wanted to make a quick note. I'm working on the driver's side now. It's definitely a lot more difficult. There's just a lot more on the side. I'm removing the heat shield. It definitely, I feel like the only way to remove it is to pull it up through the engine bay, so make sure you do that. I also had to disconnect. I'm completely spacing. I'm tired right now, but where you check the oil level, I had to disconnect. There's a bolt that holds that dipstick. That's what it is, the dipstick in place. There's one single bolt that holds the dipstick, the oil dipstick in place. You can reach it through the wheel well. It's just a 12mm bolt. I've pulled that off just so you can move the dipstick. I think you have to do that to get this heat shield off. Just wanted to mention this quickly. Because it's not as easy as just sliding it off like you can on the passenger side. So take that bolt off, loosen up the dipstick, and then just pull it up through the engine bay. So this is the direction that I'm pulling it out. The rounded side is facing down. I kind of had to squeeze it together really hard to make it fit with all of these lines. But pulling it out right through this gap here. There's the heat shield. That was not much fun, but it is out. On the driver's side, there's also a driver's side heat shield. It's the silver one you can kind of see back there. There's two 12mm bolts, the one on the left side or the front side of the vehicle. You can access with a super long extension and a swivel from down below. The one on the right side, it's really hard to see, but you can go straight through. It's really hard to see, but you guys can go straight through here with a long extension to get access to it. We're gonna see if we can pull that out now. It's really, really tight on this side. Yeah, so this is it, guys. This is that driver's side heat shield. You're gonna need to pull this off to get access, so 2 12s for that. All right, so update for where we're at. I just got all of the nuts removed on the driver's side. Again, only one of the studs came out, so I'm gonna go and try and remove the rest of the studs now, just so we can replace them with the bolts that JBA gives you. But I hate to say it, but the driver's side was a lot more difficult. Everything, even the heat shield, was difficult to remove. There's just a lot more. There's a lot more stuff in the way, and you just have to get some really awkward angles to get to some of those bolts. So I had to remove the skid plate to get to some of the ones on the lower or bottom side of the exhaust manifold. And then, yeah, there were just some really, really awkward angles, and I had to make these crazy extensions with swivels, and short extension on a swivel with a long extension. It was just a mess. It was not fun at all. So if you're looking to start with the harder side, definitely do the driver's side. The passenger side is a lot easier compared to that. But thankfully, all of the nuts came off, and I didn't snap any studs yet, knock on wood, but just gonna try and remove the studs now using, again, that E10. Don't forget to disconnect your O2 sensor before you pull this out. Mine is zip tied to another wire, so I'm gonna snip that. Okay, thank goodness. It definitely did not just take me 10 minutes to snip a zip tie. Wow. Okay. The other thing I'm trying to figure out is how the heck you get this exhaust manifold out of here. What the heck? Alright, so I just got all the studs out using this long extension with this 1/4 inch swivel. and then the E10 is what you need to remove the studs. The E10 is pretty much like an inverse Torx wrench. So if you think of Torx wrench as the star pattern, the E10 is kind of like the opposite of that. There's the kind of star pattern on the end of the stud, so you can just put the E10 over that, and then that's how you loosen these guys. The driver's side was not as much fun, guys. Thankfully, did not snap any studs, which I am extremely stoked about. But it's just a lot tighter. There's the steering column. I don't even know. There's other stuff that just is in the way. There's just a lot of super awkward angles. You have to go down below. You have to take the skid plate off for a couple of the bolts. And then you need some super long extensions. Like I was double stacking some with swivels and then extensions like after the swivel in between the socket. So it'd be like socket, mini extension, swivel, long extension, swivel, long extension. Like you had to make these like crazy devices. You had to make these crazy looking tools to get to some of those bolts, just because there's not much space and all of the angles are super awkward. But thankfully the exhaust manifold for the driver's side is off, fully disconnected there. The exhaust gasket, again, like the other side, splitting in half. It just looks super crappy. Not a surprise that there was a pretty bad exhaust leak. I'm guessing both sides were leaking based on the condition of these gaskets. So studs are all out. Oh, I'm throwing studs, but yeah, they're all out. They don't look terrible. The insides are nice and rust free as expected. They're sitting in the block. The outsides, however, are definitely a little bit rusty, so PB Blaster and a torch are going to be your friend if you're doing something like this. Definitely could not have done it without a torch on some of those bolts just to heat them up. So lots of PB Blaster, and when I say soak it, I mean really soak down those studs and nuts. Drench them in the PB Blaster and let it sit. I soaked them overnight, soaked them multiple times today, and who knows, maybe my Sequoia just wasn't as bad, but I definitely think the PB Blaster made it a lot easier. So that's about that. I'm going to try and fit the new JBA headers in. It's going to be a challenge here, but we're going to try and get them in, try and get them bolted up, try and get them reinstalled, and try and get this project wrapped up. Trying to fit these in here is actually insane. Alright guys, just an update. This driver's side is absolutely horrible. There are just a couple bolts, three or so on the back side, and I don't know, I just could not find any way to tighten them. So this is just, I'm very ready to be done, guys. Very ready to be done. So this has just been my experience with everything, but honestly, all of the YouTube videos and forums, if you read about the exhaust manifold repair, lots of people have a very similar experience with this. So yeah, that's kind of it, guys. Not a lot of fun, takes a lot of time. My body is extremely tired now and sore. Yeah, I really hope that I never have to do this again. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. I am definitely not going to be cleaning up tonight because it is 1:30 in the morning. I started this around 11, so about 12 hours of working on this, which I know could have been a lot more, but that's still a long time to be out here in the garage laying, getting dirty, working with tools 12 hours straight is it's exhausting. So for now, I'm gonna go to bed. I'll probably see you guys in the morning. Gotta get everything cleaned up, put the wheels and tires back on, do all of that fun stuff, but for the most part, I think all of the hard work is done. And yeah, I am just so glad and so ready to be done with this. That's enough talking. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, so I just finished dropping the Sequoia down, retorquing the wheels, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this project. I did a cold start this morning, as expected. There was a little bit of smoke coming off from the headers. This exact same thing happened on my brother's Subaru BRZ when we did the turbo kit. We put all new headers and downpipe and all of that. Same thing, it was smoking, so don't worry if you see that. It's just the headers kind of breaking in and warming up for the first time, but doesn't sound like there's really any exhaust leaks anymore, which is weird because I've been driving it for over a year and I've gotten used to that ticking sound, which I'm sure so many of you guys are familiar with, but no more ticking. Super happy about that. And yeah, overall just very glad to be done with this project. This was, like I said earlier in this video, just a project I had been putting aside for a long time. It's not a fun project to work on. And just super glad to get it taken care of. So that's gonna wrap it up for this one. I'm gonna try and show you guys some pictures of the new headers and what they look like. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them below or send me a message on Instagram. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.